I bought this bow 6 years ago, and I feel like now is the time to do a review. Hey guys, it's Jack from Historical Archery. Today we're going to be reviewing the cheapest traditional bow on eBay/Amazon. These things are basically the cheapest traditional bows on eBay. First things first, the cheapest bow is probably like a toy, so it's kind of unfair to, compare with these. These things on eBay go for about $50 US. Well, this one specifically. You can look up Pigskin or traditional recurve bow. Sometimes they even call it a longbow. The limbs are made of fiberglass. They wrap skin on it, pigskin, and then they use probably artificial cord, but it looks kind of like sinew, far away especially. And then the wood is hardwood. I think they use beech, and it's stained. So this one specifically is 50 pounds at 28 inches. I bought this bow 6 years ago, and I feel like now is the time to do a review. 6 years later, this bow still works, and I can still pull it to about 34-inch draw length. This is 6 years old, and I've abused this thing a lot. I've often left the string on for long periods of time, maybe a few days, which is really bad. You shouldn't do that, but it never broke. So when I first got into archery, I didn't really take care of my equipment. So this was the perfect thing for me. It was cheap. It was, it was probably $50 US after converting with Canadian. The bows that are cheaper than these on eBay, almost all of them are toy bows or children bows, like 5 pounds, 20 pounds. There is one bow though that's almost the same price as this. I think it's under TOPARCHERY, and it's basically a Olympic style recurve. So I bought that one as well. So we can do a comparison with these bows later. So what do I think about this? I think this is a great bow for any beginner to try out traditional archery. If you're more into the Olympic side of things, you might want to get something different. But if you want something just to shoot without a arrow rest, I think this is a perfect bow for you. In the beginning, you're going to struggle because you might find that you're shooting vanes and it's going to cut your hands. If you have feathers, but this one you can see is not taped. As long as it's fletched properly, it should be fine, but to prevent that, I sometimes just tape it. When you're shooting these traditional bows, arrow spine matters a lot more compared to some compound bow with a whiskers biscuit. As long as you have the right proper arrows, these arrows will shoot straight from the bow. But if you don't get proper arrows, these things are much less forgiving compared to modern bows. So one thing I love about this bow is you can shoot it left-sided or right-sided. So you could be a lefty trying out the left side and then be a lefty trying out the right side, and vice versa. If you watch my videos, you would have seen that I've shot as a lefty, both the left side and the right side. I can shoot both sides, and it really depends on which style of archery you're doing, such as a Mongolian thumb draw or Turkish thumb draw. The side that you put on really depends on which style of archery you're doing. But regardless, what I like about this bow is it doesn't force you to use a specific side. Because if you buy like one of those Target recurves, it's offset on the hand, so you're forced to shoot the side that it's cut off. But this bow doesn't have that, so you could put the arrow this side or the other side, doesn't matter. And as a lefty, it's usually harder for you to find left-handed bows. It's more expensive. It's nice to have something that's ambidextrous. Yeah, I just want to say, even these fiberglass bows vary to manufacturer to manufacturer. If it was just some random guy on eBay with no reputation, who knows where this bow came from? We don't know the quality. So before there was no poem, no Chinese words, no design, I did all this with a Sharpie. So it says, I think, is 欲将轻骑逐，大雪满弓刀, which is something about cavalry with horses and in the snow with bows and swords. Something like that. Amazing translation. It's a poem from, I forgot which dynasty, but I just thought it was cool to put this on. You could use your own designs if you want, or you can just leave it plain. Here's a plain one. It's just plain. So the difference between this bow and this bow is that this bow is 140 pounds at 32 inches, This bow's about 65 pounds at 33 inches, something like that. So this bow is much heavier. And now the price, you might be thinking this is way more expensive, but because the design is very similar, you can see. I custom ordered this from those guys. They normally don't make draw weights this high, but I kind of begged them, and eventually they made something this heavy. They said this is the heaviest thing they can make. 140 pounds at 32. They cannot make something heavier than this because the design is limited, because these are 2 fiberglass limbs, and they basically glue it. I think they use epoxy or some kind of glue to glue it onto the wood, but they didn't tell me. But I think they also put a bolt in, and they screw in the bolt like a peg, like a metal peg. I'm not sure if they do that or not, but you can't tell from the riser. I put these zip ties on. You don't need to put the zip ties. It just makes me feel safer when I'm shooting a 140-pound bow that's cheaply made. I really don't want to, injure myself. I don't think the zip tie is going to do anything, but it's more of a last resort thing. 140 pounds. I bought it for 200 Canadian, so that's probably about 160 US dollars. So that's pretty cheap for a war bow. But this review is mostly about the cheapest versions of these pig-skinned traditional recurves. So something like this, they usually make this up to 55 pounds for this price at 28-inch draw length. And I think it's great. It's a very light bow, and I think this design is not only good for beginners trying out Asiatic archery, but it's also a great starting bow for war bows.